I'll give you an example. Pornhub, owns most of the world's most popular tube sites. I told you how many videos are uploaded to Pornhub every year. They made a decision to only hire 30 moderators at their office in Cyprus to be reviewing this content. 10 moderators working at a time. They were reprimanded if they viewed less than 700 videos per 8-hour shift. Some of them were watching up to 2,000 videos per 8-hour shift, just clicking through those videos with the sound off. All the while, they knew they weren't verifying ID or age, and this was a guessing game. They were playing Russian roulette with real people's lives, with victims' lives. And that wasn't just for Pornhub. So that was all of the porn tube sites. They had 10 moderating. Compare that to Facebook's 15,000. They still don't have enough moderators even at Facebook. But make that comparison. That was an intentional decision. And those moderators, I spoke to them for dozens of hours. I consider some of them friends at this point because we've spent so much time together discussing how this worked. They said that their job was more to allow as much content to go through as possible. So content is king for the porn tube sites. They have to have massive amounts of content in order to drive those Google searches, in order to drive the traffic and sell the advertising.
Why do they need more content if there's 169 years? This is one of the things that I find mysterious about the porn business as a whole. I don't understand how it can be monetized because the internet is absolutely flooded with porn and it's free. So what's the business?
Well, it's the advertising. So mostly, they're making money off of premium subscriptions so that you could buy, so you can pay $9.99 or $19.99 a month and you can watch porn or you can watch the real rape ad-free. They were selling pay-to-download content, which was a small portion of the content on Pornhub. But there's many examples of victims even in that pay-to-download content. There was a 12-year-old boy in Alabama, and he was drugged, and he was overpowered, and he was raped in 23 videos by a man named Rocky Shea Franklin. And they were being paid, that was pay to download content where he entered into a profit sharing relationship with Pornhub to split that 35%, 65% for Rocky, 35% for Pornhub. They were selling those videos. Police reached out multiple times to Pornhub demanding those videos be removed, and they were ignored. They stayed on the site for 7 months, hundreds of thousands of views. They put an intentional download button on every single piece of content on Pornhub. Again, an intentional policy decision to place that. And that's not like a YouTube download where you can just access it when you're off of the internet. This was a possession of that content. It was a transfer from 1,700 servers that Pornhub has. A transfer of that illegal criminal content onto the devices of potentially 5 million users an hour so that that child's trauma could then be immortalized. And these victims, they call it the immortalization of their trauma. Where they say, it was one thing when I was raped, but to have that filmed and then uploaded, monetized for profit and pleasure and globally distributed so that it will be downloaded and uploaded for the rest of my life.
Machine-human hybrid issue popping up because it's far more than...
For victims. And it's a sadistic game of whack-a-mole for them where they, would beg Pornhub to get these videos down. I mean, the testimony of so many of these victims was they would beg for these videos. I saw the emails, the begging emails, and they would be hassled by Pornhub. They would make them prove, this is the testimony of these victims. They would have to prove that they were underage, or they would have to prove that they were victims. In order to get a video down, if they even had an answer at all. Because we also have uncovered that Pornhub had 1,800 employees, okay? They're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They employed one person 5 days a week to be reviewing videos flagged by users for violating terms of service, including child sexual abuse, rape, and trafficking. And they had a policy where you had to flag a video 15 times in order for it to be put in queue for review, and they had a backlog of 706,000 flagged videos. And that means a victim could flag their video 15 times. It wouldn't even have been put in line for review. These are those intentional policy decisions that I'm talking about. And so these victims, they would beg for them to come down. They would be hassled. But even if they did get it down, it would just get re-uploaded again, and again, and again, and again. And at some point, they just give up. Some of them become suicidal. We know now that this is actually a life and death issue for victims. The stakes are so high because, surveys are showing that 50% of these victims of this kind of distribution of these non-consensual sexual images, child sexual abuse, they have suicidal ideations. Many of them consider suicide. Some of them actually attempt it. Many of them do. And that's what happens to these victims. And so, it's just tragic what's allowed to happen and intentionally done